People above 30, what is something you regret doing, not doing when you were younger? Hello everyone, write your opinion on this in the comments. Enjoy watching. Story 1. Standing up for myself. I lived way too long trying to make others happy and letting them manipulate me. My family used this to their fullest advantage. I stopped it now but wish I had the backbone 20 years ago. Story 2. Take care of your health before it is too late. If you are young and having back issues or any other chronic or not problem, you have to take care of this before it spirals out of control. You may think you're tough and push through it now or that they will go away, but these types of problems can slowly get worse and creep up on you. I am currently living with the consequences of this. I feel like I am 90 and I have at least 4 major health issues at the moment, and I don't even know where to start. If I had tackled my neck issues when I was younger, my life would be a lot better right now. Story 3. I wish I hadn't treated life like it was a rehearsal. I didn't do drugs or drink dangerously or do anything exciting enough to be worth the risk. But I lost friends and family by just being selfish. I shouldn't have been so impulsive or assumed there would always be second chances. Story 4. I had as much fun as I could when I was in my teens and 20s. Do I regret spending money I didn't have, doing things I shouldn't have because it set me back financially 10 years? No, yes, not really. Would I rather do those things in my 60s, 70s when I could afford it? No. So no, I don't regret it. Do the things if you can while you can, because tomorrow may not come for you. That doesn't mean break the law. It means if you want to take a trip to see what the hell ever, just do. Because once you start adulting, you may have the money to do, but you sure as shit won't have the time. Do I regret breaking my body playing sports and other activities that I am now suffering through because I pushed my body to an extreme level? When I am hurting a lot, yeah. When I am reminiscing about it, no, it was fun as hell. So while you are young, you do you, go have fun, as long as the only person you are hurting is you. Now when you get older and look back and think, maybe I shouldn't have done that or said that, all that means you are growing as a person. I hope you have those moments before you are 30, but it's never too late to stop being a dick. Story 5. I did my thesis on regret as a function of age, using a survey with 1,400 participants. The overwhelming finding was that regret for things that you fail to do, omission regrets, stick with you, much more than regrets for things you did, commission regrets. Furthermore, when we are young, omission regrets are less salient and meaningful. As we age, regret for things we fail to do bother us more, while we tend to get over our commission regrets. This is not surprising. What was surprising was that people with a sense of spirituality find that having regret, regardless of the type, is a useful experience, and they benefit from revisiting or thinking about these things in several domains, making sense of life, fostering social connections, and guiding future decisions. Story 6. When I was 30, I was married. We were in the process of moving. The wife had gone on ahead and I would be following in a month after finishing up my job. Everything was packed up and sent ahead. I was sleeping on an air mattress and had a lawn chair in the living room. No TV, no computer. My only entertainment was library books. So a few days before I was scheduled to leave, I just got so bored of reading library books that I decided to go out. I hit up a local bar, had a good time. I'd been talking to a couple of college girls and one thing led to another, and they invited me back to their place for a threesome. And I thought to myself, there's no way the wife could ever find out. I'll be gone in 2 days, so there's no way that these girls would ever be able to track me down again. It's perfect. And then I turned them down, because I'm married, and that means something to me. My marriage was worth more than a one-time fling. Anyway, long story short, 3 years later I was divorced after finding out that my wife slept with 5 other men. I kind of regret my choice now. Story 7. I regret not always having the courage to follow my own passions and dreams instead of succumbing to social pressure or the expectations of others. In my youth, I often avoided taking risks and experimenting, which could have brought me a broader spectrum of experiences and opportunities. Now, looking back, I see that the courage to pursue what truly inspires me is crucial for achieving fulfillment in life. Story 8. I regret not pursuing my master's degree. I graduated in 2009, which was considered the worst year to graduate, and it was near impossible to get a job. My friends that earned their masters and graduated in 2011 are much better off. They got jobs right away in our field. I didn't start working in a somewhat related field until 2015. Story 9. Kind of the opposite of most people, but I wish I partied more, huh? I worked all throughout college and didn't have that typical college experience of going to parties, drinking, whatever. I kind of did that when I was like 27, 29, but that's all I got. By the time I was 30, I wanted to get it together, which I did. You should never compare your life to other people. But looking back, my 20s were generally pretty boring when you look at what most other people were doing at that time in their lives. Story 10. Think about what the true impact of having kids is. Not for the coming 5 years, but for the coming 20 to 30 years, when having multiple kids. It's great. You'll love them, they will love you, and you will get a lot in return. But the impact on your personal freedom and plans is huge and should not be underestimated. Story 11. I regret buying into the workplace bullshit when I was younger. Being the go-to guy isn't going to put food on the table. It's not going to pay your medical bills. It's not going to get you that promotion. Unless you have a contract stating X will get you, you do not go out of your way to help businesses. Don't be lazy, but don't be consistently picking up other people's slack or rushing to put out fires. Story 12. Wish that I had lived my life more. My wife and I spend most of our 20s securing our future rather than enjoying our youth. Now that we're both about to hit 30, we're realizing we could have saved less, worked less, and still been okay. We're starting to do that now, but we won't get that time back. Story 13. So there was this one time I wish I had called out from work when I didn't. I lived in a large house at the time with a lot of roommates. There were a total of 6 of us living in the house at the time, and we'd all been friends for a long time previous to moving in. I'd been in a bit of thin ice at work at the time due to calling out a bit too often. We had a friend from out of state, H, visiting, and one of her close friends, C, came over the previous night. I'd known C since high school, and we'd hooked up once before. I'd also hooked up with H on a couple of occasions, but not with either recently. We'd all partied a bit the night before, but I went to bed early to wake up for work. I worked construction, so I had to wake up super early, like 4 a.m. Everyone was asleep when I woke up, and H and C were sleeping on couches in the living room. I went down to make coffee, then got in the shower. I guess making coffee woke up H and C because they were both awake and packing a bong when I came down from my shower. They asked me if I wanted to join them, and suggested we could take the bong up to my bedroom. The way they were asking made it incredibly clear that if I had accepted, we'd be having a threesome that morning. Well, like I said, I had been on very thin ice at work from calling out too much. I was afraid I'd get fired if I called out again, so I declined and went to work. In retrospect, I don't think I'd have been fired. I should have called out and gotten my dick wet. Story 14. I let my clinical anxiety go untreated for too long, and I passed up on a lot of social and educational life experience opportunities out of anxiety. I could have used my time in college better if I didn't let my anxiety hold me back for so long. Not to mention my quality of life is leagues better now that I sought treatment. Story 15. I wish I'd gone out more. I spent most of my 20s at home watching TV with my parents or then boyfriend. I never had camping trips, or went to gigs, or out clubbing, or dinners at other people's houses. I just didn't, and now I regret that. I didn't have friends to go out with. I didn't know where to meet people or how to solidify friendships. I was very socially awkward, and I'm only now remedying that in my mid-30s. I could have made some fantastic memories and forged wonderful connections, but I let others hold me back. Go to that concert on your own, join that D&D group, talk to random people in line, have fun. Story 16. Finding love looks different as you get older. As a teenager, young adult, you and the people you date can have lots of passion, vitality, excitement, etc. You can lose yourself in the joy of the moment and have lots of fun. Then you get a bit older, and you have to worry about drinking too much because you can't bounce back like you used to. You are still trying to get your life off the ground, so things like finances, health, and social obligations are always factors when making decisions. Then once you're firmly in adulthood, the people you date have had some bad experiences, so they may have a chip on their shoulder, be a bit cynical, or have a kid that is a whole can of worms. First dates are more than ever going to feel like interviews, and their lack of passion lust for life makes date ideas very limited, and fewer things will let you see them giddy. Young love, old friends, these are things that simply become pipe dreams once you get old enough. Wish I had more. Story 17. Until recently, I always regretted not taking care of my credit score more when I was younger. It was already fucked, and I felt it was a losing battle trying to increase it, so kind of just gave up on trying. I paid cash for everything and didn't work on improving it because I never saw a change in the score, and it was just so low. I didn't have any credit cards, still had some small delinquent accounts, and so just basically let all of that just remain the same. Anyways, long story short, I finally started really working on it about 2 years ago and increased my score so much, closing in on 750. After literally a decade of sub 530. It was not nearly as difficult to achieve this as I had always thought, and it happened so much faster than I had expected. So if you are reading this and you have a low credit score, please know you can improve it, and that it can improve much quicker than you expect. It is one of things where you can build momentum very fast. If you are being diligent in taking care of it, you just need to get the ball rolling. Be patient for a small period of time and then watch as your score begins to improve and improve. Story 18. I really wish I'd just picked a career path and gone for it. I was so worried about getting trapped in a career that I didn't really love and missing out on my true calling that I just kind of drifted along doing temping and admin jobs, telling myself that when I stumbled across my dream job, I'd be able to jump right in. Turns out that actually just picking something you'd be decent at and which you felt like you were getting a little value out of is actually fine. Most people probably don't have a dream job. Hanging on till you find it is a terrible idea. And it's really hard to try and get your shit together when you only figure this out in your mid-30s and have to try and sort your life out from a standing start. Story 19. I regret not learning more, reading more, experiencing more, playing more instruments, running more, and making more friends. I'm not sheltered, and I did manage to obtain 2 degrees. Still, I think of the time I have wasted in front of the TV computer and want it back to do more. Signing off here, got something to do. Story 20. Getting a skill. I'm 32. When I was in high school, they strongly pushed getting a bachelor's degree. I didn't finish college. Now I'm in a mechanical maintenance apprenticeship through my work, very luckily. And I'm learning so much, and will be able to get a job anywhere when I'm done. I could have went to a trade school for 2 years, and I'd have been set. I feel like a lot of kids in high school are very misguided by their guidance counselors. Story 21. I wish I would have been a lot braver to become more independent and not stay home BC a family. I was just told to graduate, get a job, a good man to marry. I never got to experience living on my own or dating that wasn't high school. I was a good girl for my parents but never went after my desires. Story 22. Taking out student loans for 4 years at a private university. Ultimately, I'm grateful that I graduated from where I did as it set me off on my professional journey. Just wish I went 2 years at a local JC before transferring in. I had no idea what 18-year-old me was signing up for when it came to student loans. My parents were excited, my school was excited, I was excited, and I was so ready to get out of my hometown, so I signed without pause. Good thing I had to take a student loan exit exam upon college graduation, but I didn't have to take one at the forefront when I originally applied for them. That would have made too much sense. /S. Could have been much worse, $ compared to other student loan horror stories. I just didn't anticipate having to pay for them across nearly a decade to finally close them out. I really wish I had thought about double-clicking into student loan costs and implications when graduating high school. Story 23. I regret not partying. I've never actually been to a real party before with drinking and loud music, and I feel like I missed out on the phase because I wanted to feel morally superior to everyone else my age. I also deeply regret turning down a guy I had a major crush on in college. I didn't realize he was asking me out until a solid 3 years later, and I remember feeling sad and confused when he started avoiding me after that. And there was another guy I also was crushing on, and in retrospect, he was also into me, and I really wish I had picked up on it. Story 24. Being aware of everything that affects your body and health. My personal slogan for young people is everything you do when you are young is for the time you become old. You should never inject street drugs. You have no idea what you are talking. You should be well aware of the side effects of prescription drugs. You should work diligently to heal minor injuries, particularly to feet, knees, back, and shoulders. Perfect your eyes from the sun as well as your skin. Avoid overconsumption of alcohol and food. Exercise often and correctly. Learn to listen with your ears and eyes. Observe older family members for chronic health issues and take avoidance measures. Practice good sleeping habits. Story 25. I went on a medication that made me gain a lot of weight, to the point that I didn't even recognize myself. I started to gain weight, told my doctor who said weight gain on this medication was very rare and to keep taking it. After several months, I told her I had to stop taking it because the weight gain was like a runaway train. I stopped taking the meds, my weight stabilized. She finally admitted it was the medication. The damage was done, and my body will never be the same. I regret not listening to myself when I knew I was right and she was wrong. My body was suddenly doing something drastic and completely different than it had ever done, and the only thing that changed in my routine was this medication. She's probably forgotten I even exist at this point, and now, 10 years later, I am still suffering from the consequences of trusting her over trusting myself. Story 26. My grandmother died and left me, and only me, a sizable inheritance. The same year I had just finished chemo and thought perhaps a windfall was an upswing. I knew my grandmother a little, but I left home pretty early and enlisted after that, so we never had a relationship really. But I got out and away, and the rest of our family were vipers, which was enough to put me at the top. My brother, feeling left out, challenged the will and emptied his savings doing so. I offered him half, but he felt entitled to all of it. At the end of it, penniless and desperate, my brother ended his own life. Most of the money was eaten up in court, and what was left wasn't much. If you ever receive news of an inheritance or windfall, please consider that your family may destroy itself in pursuit of the money. Even if they're going to act that way anyway, you will at least be able to sleep at night. Story 27. I can't really say regret per se, but I guess I wish I had taken more advantage of being single prior to meeting/dating/marrying my wife. I love her and our relationship to death, am more grateful for it every day, wouldn't trade it for anything. But occasionally I get a little FOMO, wondering if I had perhaps gained more experience prior to meeting her. Then again, who knows if I would have met her, and I'm pretty confident in saying I wouldn't enjoy the life I have now. Story 28. I regret not doing things I wanted to do because other people didn't like them. I stopped playing video games for a long time because I was hanging out with people who thought video games were dumb, and it made me convince myself that I agreed, and then I got back into them after years of not associating with those people anymore. And it was great, but I missed out on a lot of enjoyment by believing that playing video games was dumb. Story 29. I'm not yet in my 30s, I am now 27, but I'm afraid I'm going to regret the relationship I have been in since the age of 21. I'm starting to feel like I'm really going to miss out on i.e. experiences with other people, he is my first and only, or miss out on going abroad to live/work or study, since it's something he doesn't really want to do. We fit together almost perfectly, yet I am afraid life with him is going to be boring. But again, I have never met a stranger with whom I could be so wholly myself almost immediately, and with whom I feel completely secure. Story 30. Honestly, I just took a sabbatical from a company I founded to pursue my passion, ceramic arts. It's a massive change from running an automotive Tier 1 supplier, but man oh man, how I wish I had done this a decade ago. Turning 40 this year, so it's a big risk attempting this now. It's only been a couple of months, and I'm the happiest I have ever been. Granted, having a successful business makes attempting things like this a lot easier, in that I have zero financial worries. But I've been thinking a lot about what life would have been like had I pursued my passion and not financial success. Story 31. Partied. Seriously, I was a quiet, shy, well-behaved kid, but deep down I wanted to get drunk and high with my peers, but due to my depression and being forced to work, I couldn't, for several years. So then when I was in my mid-20s, independent and with money to spare, I started to do what my peers, who were mostly starting families and careers at this time, were doing 10 years prior. I can't say I fully regret it because I had a lot of fun when I was in my wild days, but the people I shared those experiences with were burnouts who had no careers or families of their own. And the cliche is true that you are the people you hang out with, and their lack of ambition and laziness rubbed off on me for several years. I'm sober now, and have my own career going for me, and while I never wanted kids, I could easily afford to do so if I ever wanted to. Story 32. I don't regret anything except being so obsessed with avoiding regretting not doing something. You can't curate a life, it's not a fucking Instapage, you cannot push all the right buttons and do a 20s combo, you cannot unlock some future where you win, you can't pre-obliterate nostalgia and regret, embrace chaos, chance, bad decisions, and the lessons you get out of them. It's okay to sow in time frivolously when you can. Change it up from time to time. Don't doom scroll for a decade in your parents' basement. But even if, reflection can turn even that experience into a meaningful story. Except that every positive choice means a multitude of alternative paths closing. Story 33. I had the opportunity to buy an owner-financed apartment complex of 4 8-unit buildings just after graduating from college in 2009. I saw the value of the buildings had gone down by 50% and couldn't stomach the idea of having an asset go down by such large percentage and being completely illiquid. Those buildings are worth about 8x what I could have purchased them for, and rents are triple the 2009 levels. I screwed the pooch on that one for sure. Story 34 should have eaten healthier, socialized more, made more friends, worked out. Luckily, I don't feel my age. I'll be 35 in May, but I feel like I'm maybe 25. I'm still active. I'm actually underweight for my age. Some say it's a blessing, but I actually look like I'm starving to death even though I eat quite well. I was told this is because of some kidney and blood issues I was born with. Story 35. Doing. I regret making all those seemingly small, unhealthy decisions you make in your teens and 20s that slowly add up until one day you wake up in your 30s and they all hit you at once. Your health is precious, so take care of yourself. It's the greatest gift you can give your future self. Not doing. I regret not just casually scooping a few hundred bitcoins when I first heard about them in 2010 to 2011. They were so cheap that people were giving them away as incentives and prizes. I could have been a millionaire if I'd just thrown a few bucks at it, lol. Story 36. I am 31, and I am realizing nothing really matters other than family. All these days, I thought life is all about making others happy, and gain the word, he is a good person. Some of the times I let my happiness down. I let my comfort down. I let my family down just to make sure that I be the good person to others, not saying no to things that I was not really into such things. I feel sad being for that way. Family and genuine selfless friends, the core inner circle only should always be the priority, and the top, rest all does not matter much. Unfortunately, the moment I realized this, I already lost my mother. It is extremely tough to see our parents getting old. Stay with family and live the life happily. No need to please anyone. Story 37. I don't have regrets exactly, besides maybe washing my feet more, or picking a better education than animation. But I have noticed at 35 finally, how many people are younger than me that are in front of a camera these days, and how oddly self-conscious it feels seeing such very amazing and talented people manage to articulate themselves so well and perform some crazy acts of talent and effort. And it made me wonder if maybe some older people are so cranky because they envy the youth.